The following video was sponsored by the Greek American Heritage Society of Philadelphia, preserving and promoting our community's history.
Tell me first about how you got started in the radio business and the name of your radio station.
The time that I came to this United States was 1964. At that time was the radio program that Nick Paras had on, and that radio station was the WTL. I was invited to participate and eventually run the hour of Paras program with the all kinds of editorials, news from Greece, entertainment, and advertisement. My time for radio program came much later, in approximately 1970. In 1974, we had the invasion of Cyprus, and of course, I was involved in so many different things at the time with this particular catastrophe of our nation. We participate in Washington demonstration with thousands of Greeks at the time with the 74. And also me, at that time, I was the president of the Greek, that was a Greek organization here that we did tremendous amount of work to support the Cypriots by collecting clothing, money, and everything else. And the name of that organization was Ellinikos Philadelphias.
Tell me though, specifically from 64, when you started, you actually launched your own radio station. Was it 70?
70.
What was the name of the radio station?
Ellinikos Kosmos.
Ellinikos Kosmos. We're talking to Peter Lambrou, the originator of Ellinikos Kosmos, one of the more popular radio stations in the 70s. Mr. Lambrou got his start in the 60s and took a big splash and became very well recognized with the Cyprus crisis that took place in 74. Mr. Lambrou, Peter Lambrou, welcome to Kosmos Philly.
I wish you all the good luck. Thank you for having me.
Let's talk about the radio station a little bit more.
Oh, yeah, I'll tell you the truth, the radio station on my part starts around 70. But prior to this, I want to give you an idea to how many stations was in existence at the time. Sapounas was one radio program.
Is that the first radio station, would you say?
Station around this area.
What time frame would that be in?
That would be before 60. I would say between 58 to 62, something like this. That was a Sapounas.
In the city?
I don't know the exact area that this production was taking place, but I know that at that time it was the Paras radio program, which I worked also there in 1964.
Is that right after you arrived from Greece?
Just a few months later. A few months later, I worked with, and eventually I took the hour to a production for the Paras program. That wasn't my program, but I was responsible for the production of this particular program there, with the editorials and news and everything else that the Greek program could give at that time. At that time, don't forget now, there was also in existence the Boulotos radio program, the Generalis radio program.
All these were going on at the same time?
Saris program too. It was different hours, and most of them were almost falling over the top of each other sometimes.
So 60s through the 70s is when we're having this golden age of radio.
Of radio programs, yes.
Why were they all popping up all of a sudden?
Well, the truth of the matter is that at that time, the Greek society was hungry for anything that had to do with the Greek. There was mostly newcomers here, and The Greek radio was influenced quite a few things by directing and supporting newcomers. Plus, the connection with the church at that time was quite strong on these radio programs. We did have a few times priests celebrating liturgy in a radio program and stuff like that. The main thing at that time was that it was a development. Also, the federation was in the Federation of Hellenic Societies. And don't forget, organizations were the beginning of the area here, with all kinds of different organizations. That we have the Christian Brotherhood, we have the Macedonians, we have the Epirotes. All these organizations, eventually they start putting together churches.
So with the new wave of immigrants flooding into the Philadelphia area, through the 50s, 60s, 70s, the organizations were forming.
Well, yeah, the organizations were quite strong, and the ethnic connection was on the zenith, I would say, the highest, with a parade over the 25th of March. We did have a Judge Lagakos at the time, that he was the main factor of connecting our Greek societies with the city of Philadelphia.
Well, let's not jump into there yet. Let's talk about radio. We started a path. Let's go through.
The radio, let's go to the radio program. The radio program, as I told you, I started up with the WTL, with the Paras program. Then George Boulotos comes along. He wanted me to be on his team, and I started producing programs with him together. We worked together for quite a while with George. Of course, the competition was there, like the Saris programs, which they're putting a very nice program together. The Generalis also, I helped Generalis also a couple of times. I worked for them a few times. And then the time around 70, I decided to have my own radio station, which I started up with the WCAM. WCAM is in Camden.
Did you launch it from Camden or from your home, or how did that work?
We did go at the beginning there to produce the program in Camden, at the City Hall of Camden. And then, little by little, I had the ability to put a small studio in my house, and we started producing the program from here. We stay, me and my wife Peggy, many hours at night.
You worked as a
we put the kids to sleep, and we're producing the program in our basement.
And what did that program comprise of?
Well, the main menu on these particular programs were news from Greece, editorials, news from our society here in this tri-state area, and also entertainment with music, with the newest records that they were coming. If you go down my studio, you're going to see quite a few records that we play with all kinds of songs, and of course you're going to have all kinds of folk dancing play up there. You're going to see the new singers at the time, which Dallaras, Parios, Marinella, Voskopoulos, all of them, the records that I have.
How long did you continue with the program?
Well, this particular program, I would say the end came to around 80. Yeah, it was a little bit too much for me and my wife to continue with this program, and eventually we fade away.
Well, the industry was still around.
Yes.
And there were some other stations that went on. Tell us about those and where you were.
Okay, at that time was the Saris program and Boulotos program, and I think that's the main programs that they were in existence. Then we have also the Generalis program was in existence. That was fading away also. Then Kamburoglu comes around. Kamburoglu comes around, he does have an hour also. And then Gatsoulas. Then the structure starts again becoming a little bit less and less through the years.
Was that the influence of TV, people becoming second generation?
Unfortunately, yes. Plus the generations now, the younger people grew up, and there were not so much interest on listening to a Greek radio. There was a try to have a radio play on the car. Now, somehow we did go through some steps with a couple of nice people that I know, and eventually they came to another program also, which is is a continuation of this. You continue what was happening with the Vasily at the time and Costa Zidros. 2003 was the production of a good program at the time. That was 24 hours a day, and that was a program that it was, of course, you will receive not on the radio, on the regular radio, but you have to have a certain receiver to receive this particular.
Was that pretty much the last radio station or the last?
So yes, I think that came on the air.
Well, probably for longer than half a century is what we know about Greek radio. When would you say Greek radio came to its zenith? And what was the name of the station?
Okay, if I mentioned the whole structure of the from the beginning, which was I told you before, Sapnas, Paras, Generalis, Bourlotos, Lambrou, Kamburoglu, Gatsoulas, and at that time, the Greek radio turns into a TV by George Bourlotos. He gets into the TV up there with his Greek spirit. Now, at that time also, we have the last steps of the radio with the Radio Kosmos, which Radio Kosmos, you didn't have the receiver in your car or in your house radio, but you did have to have a special receiver to receive this in your house or anywhere else. So that was a good radio program that lasted a few years, and there was in production for the whole day or at night also. I took part of it many times. I had a lot of programs together with Kamburoglu, and we did have a lot of conversations with our listeners. Radio Kosmos, little by little, fade away also. It's a difficult for the radio program to keep up if it's not in the easy access of especially inside the car. Inside the car, I like to hear a good program when I'm driving. I enjoy it. So when you don't have that, then somehow you're losing contact with the programs. Plus the generations that they came up with, the younger generations, they had developed different interests. They won't listen to a Greek radio as, maybe they will listen to the music, but they won't listen to the news, or they won't listen to anything else that will come with the Greek radio program. So eventually this was ending also, and now you come around.
Well, let's talk about, this is another format, but let's segue over to another relationship and another area that you were part of in the Greek community, the Federation. You were there for a while. You put a lot of time in. Tell us about that.
Federation, of course, it was an organization that will represent our communities, our organizations. In other words, a representative from a church or two people will be part of this federation, and will somehow put together ethnic direction. For instance, the parade of the 25th of March was the responsibility of the Federation, with participation of the churches and the organizations that were in existence at the time also.
It was really big back then.
At that time, we did have quite a few members, and the representatives were very enthusiastic. And of course, all these things are working. All the people that work in these organizations were working free of charge. All right. So we were very much involved with every ethnic situation that was existing at the time. It was a time that, of course, in 1974, we did have the invasion of Cyprus in Greece, from Turkey, and
the Federation played a role in.
The Federation played a serious role to supporting everything that had to do with. As a matter of fact, we did have a correspondence with the foreign minister of Greece, Mr. Averov, and we did try our best. We did put all kinds of demonstrations together. At that particular time, the Federation also, with me as part of it, we went to Washington, D.C. to demonstrate among thousands of Greeks. I'll tell you the truth, I was amazed about the number of people that they were protesting at that time there.
Is there another example we can cite where the Federation played a strong role in?
Now, the Federation, I would say, was putting together the idea that we can be as a future of a schooling wise, and also we were just about ready to build a school here.
What time frame was that?
It was around 76, 78, somewhere there. We did have the plans for school, the money to buy a big lot over Derby somewhere, and somehow other interests showed up, and eventually these people that they were so enthusiastic about this got tired of representing all the time the same thing and finding difficulties about this and about that, and they eventually went away, and we don't have no school no more. I mean, we don't have no school, a Greek school. But why? And I'll tell you why. The Greek school is unfortunately part of the church right now. Now the church at that time saw somehow a competition to a business. For instance, why we should have a Greek school when we have a Greek school in our churches? That was the question that the church put together. And of course, the Greeks always find easy ways to exit. And that's exactly what happened there.
Do you believe that there should be a separate educational institution, a Greek institution outside of the church?
Absolutely, absolutely. The church has one certain direction. The church is up there to introduce me to religion, and from there on, education is coming to a conflict with the church in so many different ways. The church has its own way of representing things. It does not. You cannot put together a regular education system inside the church. It will be influenced by all kinds of different things.
Let me ask you this. In the last few years, the church has declined in population everywhere across America. Many have said that the archdiocese isn't putting an effort on to tie itself to the community at the level that it needs to with its parishioners, would an educational institution or a culture center in Philadelphia benefit our community for the survival of Hellenism, or do you think that we should continue on this path?
No, I like to see a separation of church, period. I would like to see a Hellenic university here. I was starting with the simple school at the beginning, but don't forget, Greek education is not just a thing of today's, it goes back thousands of years. All right, don't forget, if we are educated in this life, if we have the philosophies of life, we started out from Greece. And if we are going to eliminate this thinking, this open thinking, which exactly that's what the Greek education is, open thinking. Our philosophies, that's what they tell us. If you go back to all of us philosophers that we have, independent thinkers.
So the collapse of the Federation, which is now, they're trying to regenerate it and strengthen it again. When was the zenith, would you say, of the Federation? When it was?
Around 1980. 1980, and then after that starts, well, you know...
They told me that there were hundreds of people that would attend the meetings.
One of them, Dr. Liras, it was a positive person for our ethnic groups and ethnic ideas, and unfortunately people like this eventually they evaporate. They get older, and the younger ones don't. We did have come across to a conflict with quite a few things with the city of Philadelphia, for instance. We do have a Greek picnic up here in this area, and the Greek picnic, of course, does not consist of the Greeks. Consists of black people that they carry the university names, and they name it Greek picnic.
Yeah, right.
Now, unfortunately, we tried to convince the city of Philadelphia that is not the way to be presented, because it has no connection whatsoever with the Greeks, and would change the name of it. We did have a contact with their officials of the Greek picnic. Were very, very difficult to communicate, and somehow in other words, the Federation was trying to do things that they were beyond the need of being there and say hi and let's put a parade together.
Specific key figures in our community that played a role in helping unite Greek Americans in the Philadelphia area. You mentioned Dr. Liras. Could you speak a little bit more about Dr. Liras and some of the other individuals?
Yes. Well, Dr. Liras was a real patriot. You would see his face with a little white mustache that he had on. He was like representing a critico or something. You know, his structure was such. But this guy was so strong on his ideals about Greeks and Greek heritage that in his church, which is the St. Thomas in Cherry Hill, he built a whole design of national uniforms, and still you're going to see it in the Church of St. Thomas. He was the principal of a Greek school at the time there. They had maybe 150 students at the time. And he really put the idea of Greece and Greeks together, and he came and transferred all these ideals to the Federation. He was very well respected. I love that man, I really did. Now, amongst them, there was not Lyra only. We had Dr. Aktaridis, we have the Philokleanthopoulos, we have Tomazinis. All these people are Philokleanthopoulos, professor. Tomazinis, professor. All these people are the ones that they tried to put together the idea of the Greek school with all kinds of plans. And the point is that at that time the federation was in such a way that it was moving forward real nice. We did have meetings with all kinds of people up there, numbers, good numbers, sometimes arguments, quite few arguments as a matter of fact, but that gave kind life to the, looking forward to the other meeting. We did have a very strong person, as I told you before, the Judge Lagakos, which Judge Lagakos was connecting us with the rest of Philadelphia. He was part of the city system, and he was quite strong. Now, of course, at that time, we did have the president of the Temple University, Diakouras, which is also another strong figure, Greek figure in the area of Philadelphia. Also, we did have Papadakis with Drexel University. Unfortunately, he died young. And he was a strong supporter of the Federation also. I mean, all these people are so strongly giving ideals and time to the Federation that you would see that this thing is going to grow up big. As soon as these people remove themselves from the participation of the Federation, little by little, we have slide away.
So would you say that, as we mentioned earlier, with these key people that were representing the organization, when they were pulled out or when they passed on abruptly, what happened to the Greek community? It collapsed, it folded, it became swept into the archdiocese. And when did this happen?
That's exactly what happened. Well, the archdiocese, it's always trying to find ways to fill the vacuum. At this moment, when all these strong people with the heritage in mind were gone, it was the vacuum created, which was little by little taken over by the church. And as you see the parades, they have the priest in the front of the church. In other words, the structure has changed direction, and in the long run, I don't know if it is doing any good for the future or just it's a stalemate. Yes, we're going to have parades. We're going to have some Greek schools with Greek holidays. In other words, the poems will be told from the kids that they go to the Greek school and stuff like this. But the school that I like to see to produce a person from the young age to the time of going to college with a Greek structure behind it, we lost the train. Really did. I don't know how they do it in New York, school-wise, but I know that we, at this moment, the only school that we can mention that it's a little bit...
well, there's the Odyssey Charter School in Wilmington.
Right, in Wilmington. Right. And also the one in Media.
Right, that's
what's Aristotelis Academy.
But that's also run.
We are doing fine too in our community here, in our church. Lately, with the Avgiris as the principal, the Church of the Annunciation has a very good Greek school.
It seems that you're saying the way to preserve Hellenism for the future is the education, the schools.
Absolutely.
Is that the only way we can do this, or are there other ways?
Absolutely. What are the? If you don't listen, we talk about Paideia. Now, Paideia starts from the family, the house, and then goes to school. If we don't have this particular Paideia from a young age to direct our children and the young people, unfortunately, you don't have it anymore. You're losing it. We have such a history behind us. We have treasures that it's impossible to mention here tonight. What the Greek carries. What an amazing history we have. Παρακαταθήκη, η ιστορική παρακαταθήκη του Έλληνα είναι κάτι το ασύλληπτο. Δεν υπάρχει περίπτωση κάποιος άλλος λαός να έχει αυτές τις κληρονομίες τις οποίες έχουμε εμείς. Και δυστυχώς χάνονται διότι δεν μπορέσαμε να βάλουμε το σχολείο στο δρόμο του. Αυτό νομίζω έκανε στην αρχή το ραδιόφωνο. Το ραδιόφωνο αυτό προσπάθησε να κάνει. Να δημιουργήσει την ατμόσφαιρα της μεταφοράς της δικής μας ιδεολογίας, της σκέψης μας. Και αυτό φυσικά σιγά σιγά εξαφανίστηκε διότι δεν υπήρχαν οι πόροι οικονομικοί να το διατηρήσεις και σιγά σιγά όλα φύγαν. Έχουμε και τηλεόραση που έρχεται από την Ελλάδα πλέον και εκμηδενίζει οποιαδήποτε προσπάθεια του εδώ κόσμου.
Well, that's the question I want to get to. So, how do you get your media information today? Is it through radio, through TV, and do you miss radio?
Of course, there's no question about it. Unfortunately, the Greek communication with direct is through TV anymore. The radio, of course, there's a Greek radio that comes in here, but just.
What about the internet and technology of that?
That helps, but let me just say this to you. In order to explore all these areas, you have to be a little bit more educated of knowledge on that particular, for internet, for instance. Okay, fine. Now, the older people, they're gone. They cannot communicate. They don't have the ability to receive the internet and to understand it as much as you, as a younger person, will do. It would be nice, it would be very nice, if it was a Greek radio on the air, direct, with the connecting these particular times with the older times. Unfortunately, we don't have that. But we have the TV that comes here. We have a direct TV from Greece, the antenna, Omega, whatever. All right. Now, also we have the Greek spirit of George Boulotos, which also, this one is limited. Does not give me direct information about anything that's happening right now. That's the idea of the radio. That's happening right now. I bring it on the air. It's on the air.
Let's talk a little bit now about who you are as a Greek American and how you immigrated into this country. First, let me ask you this. Do you feel more Greek or American?
Let me just say this to you. When you're coming to this country in a certain age, and I came to this country finally, 26 years old. So myself was Greek then, myself is Greek now. Nothing changed. Of course, I'm an American also, in very deep, as a matter of fact, I would say sometimes I feel more American than Americans themselves. And that's why we call ourselves Greek Americans.
I was going to say, okay, let's talk about when you came. You were 26 years old. It was 1964. Tell us about your journey, where you're from in Greece.
How did I wind up in this United States of America? Well, I was born in Nafplion, Greece. Nafplion is the first capital of Greece after Turkey's independence. History quite big up there. Growing up, I went to high school, blah, blah. Then I went to educate myself on the machinery. I went to Prometheus. Prometheus, it's an educational school for a future traveling and knowledge of engines, from internal combustion engines, external combustion engines. all these things that the boat will use today, and also the car. So after I finished with this schooling, I went to the Greek Navy. I served the Greek Navy for about 7 years. I was a chief petty officer when I left the Greek Navy. The reason I left the Greek Navy is that between the end of my career there, it was a travel to the United States to pick up a destroyer for the Greek Navy at the time. I was sent with, of course, few more officers and petty officers and sailors to pick up a destroyer from Philadelphia. We did pick up the Sfendoni. The Sfendoni was a very nice destroyer. At that time, we, as sailors, we moved in the city of Philadelphia. We came in contact with the Greek community, and that's the time I met my wife. In 1959, that was the preliminary visit to the United States. So I met with my wife at the time, and she came in Greece. We got married, and after I finished with the 7 years, as a matter of fact, in Greece, I had to run for a congressman to receive my discharge papers. Because they wouldn't let us go very easily from the Navy because of knowledge of a lot of things. Anyway, finally, I came in the United States in 1964, and I was about 26 years old at the time.
Where did you settle? In the city or in the suburbs?
No, I would say it was just off the city. At the beginning, I don't know if you're familiar with the Juniata Park area. We did buy a house over there with my wife, and eventually we came to Elkins Park from 1970s. 73 we bought this house here that you're now since then. The time at the beginning was difficult. I didn't know any English. My English were very poor, even though I was studying hard. I became an American citizen within 3 years after I came to the United States. And the reason that I did become citizen so fast is because my wife was an American citizen at the time. I participated little by little in our community, in our church. My first salary, my father-in-law says to me, "Well, you have to become a member of the church now."
Was this
in Elkins Park?
In Elkins Park. Tell us about that.
Well, at that time, don't forget now, Elkins Park was not always Elkins Park. It was in Philadelphia, 12th and Fitzgerald, the church. The Church of the Annunciation was built 1901. In other words, it's one of the oldest churches built in the United States. The church in 12th and Fitzgerald eventually came to an agreement amongst the members to sell it. Some of the members didn't like the idea, and because I don't blame them, they were families, that there were houses and everything else close to the church, and all of a sudden they have to move to Elkins Park. Finally, they did find a nice place over here.
Is that the current location?
The current location. That it was called a Spanish Palace. This structure up there. That was a beautiful house with all kinds of areas, even horses they have up there at the time. The house that our church bought. And the Thyranixia of this church was 1968. We started building this church, and I took part of helping, and it was I was still a young guy, all right, and we were working up there very hard to build this church, and finally we came to have that particular church that you see today, which is a Βυζαντινός Ρυθμός Εκκλησία.
you raised your family in this parish.
My whole family was raised.
Kids?
I have three. We have three kids. Three kids and 4 grandchildren. My kids went all in the same schools that my grandchildren go to now. My grandkids goes the same high school that my daughter went to, and my son and my daughters rather. All right, so we are in this area here from 1973.
Let's get to the final part here. I'm really curious to know, how do you spend your days now? I mean, are you working? Are you missing the media industry? Participating in the community?
Yes, I was very much involved with the community until recently. I'm 79 years old, you know, and I still work. I don't work direct myself. I help my son in his business, which he continues as my business it was. We do have a repair shop, automobile repair shop with estate inspections and emissions and sales used automobiles, which is my son's business. And of course I find myself involved there. Believe me, that's very much interested.
And Greece, what role does that still play in your...
In Greece, I tell you, I go up there and spend my time for about 3.5 months, 4 months at a time, the summertime. I do a lot of fishing, and there we do have some conversations with the people about the future of the country. They are concerned about the happenings in Greece right now, and somehow, even though that I'm on vacation, let's put it this way, on vacation, I involve myself in so many different little things. I don't involve myself to a permanent basis up there, but some organizations, I'm taking part of it. We have some decent conversations. That's about Greece. Greece is a beautiful country to visit, as long as it has a secure government, and that is the idea. There's a lot of complaints of the present times, but then again, who does not complain today?
Is there a final wish or a thought about how you preserve Hellenism here at home or through your grandchildren, or you'd like to see?
Yes, I'll tell you one thing. Even though that the Greek school here is just about existing, we try very much to transfer the idea in our younger generations to bring the small children to school, to Greek school. And I can see it right now. My son, for instance, he has 2 small children, 7, 9 years old, and he travels far away distances to bring them to the Greek school. Now, I believe tremendously that Hellenic idea is so important, even though that we are in this beautiful country of America, that gives us the opportunity to celebrate any different ideas that we have, as long as that we follow the rules and regulations of the country. As long as we respect the Constitution of the country, we are free to do as we please. And that's the big secret of this country here. We are immigrants, and we carry with us a heritage that is not to be taken lightly. It's a very serious situation that we have to follow up. In other words, heritage is something that stays with the future generations only through education. If you do not educate the future generations about the past, the present, the future is not in existence.
Peter Lambrou, thank you for speaking with us. We wish you the best of luck with your future endeavors.
Thank you for your time, and I hope you have a way of reaching everybody in so many different ways, and you're doing a good job. I wish you all the good luck. I wish only one thing to you guys, to be able to eventually come to terms with the idea of opening a system. That I like to see you anytime I turn on the television, to see you there, or I like to see anytime I turn on my radio, to hear you down there. I mean, if you're able to come to these terms, call me and I come and participate.
Thank you so much.
Hey, I wish you good luck, guys. I really do.
For more information about sponsoring or viewing the interview series, visit the Greek American Heritage Society of Philadelphia online at gahsp.org.